gentlemen, I am being joined by a very special guest. You recently saw him as Colonel Rawat in the massive hit of this year, Gadar 2. Anna Naidu as well. We all are fan of his voice. Gaurav Chopra. Gaurav, thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. I'm Sakshi Singh Victoria. Thank you for joining me for a quick chat. As I said in my introductory statement, it's a massive hit of the year. Gadar 2, not 100, not 200, not 300. You've crossed 400 crore and you are continuing to grow stronger and stronger with each passing day. How do you feel about this massive success?
It's a blessing. While we were making it, there were all kinds of people having all kinds of doubts. Uh, and now to sort of live up to the legacy of the previous Gadar and maybe being, a notch better, higher in terms of success and footfalls uh, is an unheard of thing. Because you see, the world is almost ready to jump at you and say, क्यों बनाई एक क्लासिक को छोड़ देते उसको क्यों डिस्टर्ब किया वो अपनी जगह पे अच्छी थी why did you even attempt this see the whole world is ready to say that to you because it's true most of the sequels that come don't live up to the legacy or the brand of the previous one and for this I must just blankly and openly say the credit goes to Mr. Anil Sharma and Z and mostly Mr. Anil Sharma. He had this conviction from day one, and he's made that happen. And at every stage and at every point of shooting or discussing, he's been consistent with this. He told me on day one. He told me during the shooting. He told me during the dubbing. He came one day to say, "आपकी dubbing मैंने देखी बहुत अच्छी लग रही है." And he said, "मैंने आपको कहा 500 crore." And he's been saying 500 crore from day one, from 5 years ago. So you have to give it to the man saying he knew this was good.
I don't think it's just going to be 500 crore. I'm aiming for more. I think I have my fingers crossed. I love the movie. I loved your role. I could see people shouting, cheering, and whistling in the screens as well. I saw people going gaga over your role. How was it to work with the Sunny Deol?
Oh, it's magical. I've seen him as a child and watched the previous Gadar as well. And I've had an impression of him. And then to suddenly see all of that culminate into a real human being in front of you. And he's so warm and so real and so friendly that he makes you forget that he is the Sunny Deol. Like you said, he is वो उतने ही देसी भी हैं. He's so like grounded. He keeps people close to him who are also so simple. His vibe is so real. There is no superstar aura that he carries that way. But the moment he goes in front of the camera, and even otherwise, if I can say so, there is no difference between Tara Singh and Sunny Sir. It's the same. They're the same people. Fundamentally, the traits that you see and love in Tara Singh are all there in Sunny Sir. He's loving, he's very warm, he's very affectionate for his own people. He's almost cute and endearing. And then when he has to explode on screen, we all know what he does. So it's him. He's the superhuman that we make these films for. The original Hulk that the Hindi film industry thought of even before Marvel thought of it.
Yeah, I am going to come back to Marvel as well because I know you have a connection there as well. Gaurav, but we talked about everything good. Was there a moment throughout the shoot where you felt, it's very difficult, यार ये नहीं हो पा रहा है अभी थोड़ा सा और मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी इस चीज में?
You see, थोड़ा सा flashback में जाना पड़ेगा. Uh, somewhere in the first lockdown, when I was sitting at home and sort of introspecting over the whole thing, I realized that in the last 4 5 years before that, everything that was being offered to me was the same. It was like another prototype of my previous successful roles, and I realized it's nobody's fault. This is the byproduct of being successful and for being around for this long. Because what happens is that over a period of time, there are some roles that you worked in, जिसमें आप हमेशा ही successful हो जाते हैं. It's not like it's a one-off thing. And so when conceivers and writers are conceiving a part or a story, they think of you when a role like that comes up because you've you set like a little bit of a benchmark every time you do that kind of a part. So the whole angry young man, kind of this rich guy who comes from abroad, there was some traits that were common all the time. I realized why they were there. I didn't have a problem with it, but I wanted to change it. And the only way to change it was to course a different path from this point on. And it was difficult because I had to let go of a lot of work and let go of a lot of money. Uh, but I kind of stuck to my guns and said, "Yeah, मैंने अब सोच लिया, I'm going to just do this." And the decision was to challenge myself. It wasn't
Definitely.
so much to, I wasn't thinking about isse hoga kya. I wasn't thinking about
Hmm.
how this will help or what I will get in return. The objective was to just be honest to the craft and say, I haven't done this before. Or iske baad this would look so nice as a variation or as somebody showing versatility. And I kind of just stuck to my guns. It was difficult, but I did that.
Yeah.
Only three roles were said yes to in 3 long years. Bachchan Pandey, where I played the main antagonist
Hmm.
opposite Akshay.
Yeah.
I was cast by Mukesh Chhabra for it, and the role was a little bit cut there, but it's okay. Um, and then there was, of course, Rana Naidu and Prince Reddy, who was so Bachchan Pandey was completely dark. Rana Naidu had all kinds of shades because the role
Hmm.
was you couldn't even put him in a box. He was good, he was bad, he was flawed, he was debauched, he was sensitive, he was all kinds of emotions and different. Sometimes there were scenes in which I had to work out 5 different layers and emotions, and they were not even sort of expressed openly. It was just there for you to understand. आपको समझ में आया और दिखा तो उस लाइन के पीछे 2 और शेड्स हैं, और नहीं समझ में
जी.
आया तो मैं सिर्फ आपको entertain कर रहा हूँ with the line. And then I was so scared about doing all the kind of scenes that Prince had. Now I've gotten 2 awards for it, so I know अच्छा कुछ तो ठीक किया. But after that, Gadar 2 was just that perfect foil because completely negative and dark, and then all kinds of shades. And this was like a completely patriotic, positive, almost glorious role. So I thought these three roles back to back, when they come over a year or a year and a half, that they would create for this kind of versatility that I'm trying to showcase. Um, there have been journalists and writers and fans who've always been saying that I could be doing anything. I could be doing positive and negative and song and dance and action. And, it feels nice, but you need to challenge yourself to see हाँ आप कर सकते हो कि नहीं at a bigger stage, bigger platform. Any actor would like to believe that I can carry a film project on my shoulders. But then you have to test yourself to see if you're actually worthy of that or not. What you actually believe about yourself might not actually be true or might be partly true. So this whole process of doing this whole counterfoil between Gadar and Rana Naidu, because a lot of times I was shooting simultaneously, I created these different roles. I put on some 9 and 10 kgs for Gadar. I wanted him to look like a vintage man of 1971, wearing an authentic 1971 uniform. I was eating what men of that time ate. I was living with the army officers. I was going to their houses. Sometimes I would spend more time with the army guys before the shoot than the actual shooting days, because I would spend 4 days and 5 days just spending time with them, and then 2 or 3 days just for the shoot. Uh, but it was worth it because there were such beautiful incidents. I was walking with a couple of army officers, and सामने से कुछ जवान आ रहे थे, and they saluted me and not them. And I was I'm an actor, but it became so real. The Vardi and me in the Vardi felt like this was Colonel Rawat. I didn't feel like I was acting. So yes, there have been these challenges in between to put on that kind of weight and then lose it again for Rana Naidu. Rana Naidu, I needed to look like the biggest superstar in the country. So then it had to be fit and it had to be all kinds of things. Um, yes,
Definitely.
very difficult. But today, when I talk to you, um, then Sakshi, it seems all worth it. Seems like, ha, theek hai, acha kiya, kiya. It's all good.
अच्छा नहीं बेहतरीन किया. I want to talk to you about Rana Naidu as well. Since you talked about your character Prince, you talked about how you prepared yourself for Colonel Rawat's role. How did you exactly prepare yourself for Prince? Because I've been following your journey from television days to Big Boss, then now in movies, and widening your spectrum. How did you exactly? What did you exactly read? Whom did you meet to sort of get into the character of Prince?
See, the instinctive thing was to just be true to being an actor and whatever that I've seen as an actor myself who's been part of the industry. And I've been lucky and fortunate enough that this journey that you talk about, that I've had all kinds of things happening. I was shooting with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Connelly in 2005. This is before anybody had gone to the West and was doing sort of big roles. I was shooting, and you have to understand, I was just an emerging TV star. I just debuted in 2004. I'm talking about 2005. And Leonardo DiCaprio was the biggest star on the planet. Titanic, Aviator, Catch Me If You Can, back to back. He was just at the top of the game. Um, and like, these kind of things have all happened by chance. No, but there's no godfather. There's no casting director who pushes me. I've been that unconventional guy, the unconventional outsider who has to fight and make his way. And it's never easy. It's still not easy. Promotions में से काट दिया जाता है, hoardings में से आप हट जाते हो, आपकी so many things happen. It's a step at a time. You understand you're in a bigger league. There are bigger stars. Uh, all of that happens. It still happens. The fact that you are the outsider one, the fact that you are called like considered to be a TV star. All of those things are still burdens that you carry, but it's okay. It's part of the package. Uh, the fact really is that through this entire journey, there have been understanding of how an actor goes through ups and downs and what his life is like. And I think Prince Reddy was an amalgamation of all of that. It was just my observations over so many years and so many things that I've seen. And so many flaws that you notice that creep into your personality. And then you're like, मैं तो अभी गौरव चोपड़ा हूँ, ये शाहरुख खान के लेवल पर कैसा होता होगा, या सलमान खान सर के लेवल पर कैसा होता होगा, because Prince was at that level. So I'm saying that I did have to envision how it would be at that stage. um, and he still comes across as so crazy and eccentric and debauched, and he's doing drugs, and he's always having alcohol, and he's surrounded with girls and sex, and it was, I still had to bring in that whole element of this is not what he enjoys. He's caged in this. This is a cage. एक superstar है जो एक अकेला lonely जिंदगी जीता है, और वो इस superstardom के cage में कैद है. This is how he has no other way of running away from this. He has a little baby, and I wanted to make sure that every time the audience saw me with the baby, Prince was a different person. His whole
Yeah.
existence, his face changes, his voice changes. Um, he draws his energy from him, and these were things that were not part of the script per se. These were things that you develop as an actor. But to just answer your question, this is just from life. Prince was just taken from life. I mean, who would I go to study the biggest superstar in the country? I would have to live in Mannat with Shah Rukh sir and say, "Sir, I'm your junior from school. I'm your junior from school. I've come from St. Columbus too. Please allow me to live with you for 20 days." But of course, that wasn't possible. But I'm saying, uh, just to play that was sort of just inspiration from my own life and whatever that I've seen over so many years.
And what an iconic character, I must say. Since you mentioned the fatherhood, since you mentioned the baby, you're a father yourself. And I remember reading, one of the article where you said that you don't want your son to be introduced to the glamorous world. Why did you exactly say that? Don't you think that it's a little unfair since you are also part of that glamorous industry now?
No, it's the words weren't really these. The I want to keep him away from the perceptional illusions that come as a side effect of being a celebrity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I am his father. I will always remain one. I hope he grows up to be proud of what I do, uh, and feels that I made a name for myself that I passed on to him. Um so there's no shirking away from this. This is uh, मतलब गौरव जिसका मतलब ही pride होता है. I'm saying this with Gaurav that he needs to feel pride when he thinks about his father and what his father did. But there are some side effects of this whole celebrity drama. Some perceptional delusions that people get into, They remain an actor all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, they can't switch off. They always think they're on display. They worry about how their hair is, how their body is looking. Uh, they don't switch on to being the normal person. And it happens because this life takes over your other life. The work is such, the timings are such. After the work is over, you're constantly interacting with journalists and people and fans. And with now after social media, it's never ending. I'm just on a daily
Yeah.
basis spending some 2 hours just saying thank you to people for Gadar. Literally. Then मैं 2 से 3 घंटे only to say thank you to people for Gadar because people are putting up stories and sending messages and saying how much they love me in the part. And it comes as a surprise because I thought बहुत कम scenes हैं. But uh, I want him to think of me as a normal person, as a regular father. The family zone needs to be normal, needs to be subtle. It should not be
Yeah.
my father is a celebrity. You should not go to school thinking I'm a special person because my father is a special person. And this classmate of mine is not a special person. Everybody is equal. We all do our jobs. His father might be a chartered accountant and I might be an actor. It doesn't make a difference. This is just my job. और वो जॉब खत्म करने के बाद मैं घर आता हूँ और आई एम अ नॉर्मल पर्सन एंड दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ बैलेंस दैट आई बहुत मुश्किल होता है बट दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ बैलेंस दैट आई हैव ट्राइड टू स्टिक टू इवन इन माय ओन लाइफ एंड आई वुड लाइक टू पास दैट ऑन टू हिम in any case he's in Bangalore. He lives with his mother, so it's he's away from all of this in any case. But I just sort of make sure that every time that we meet and we spend time, it's just a regular dad and not somebody who's a special person.
How cute. How cute. Gaurav, is he a fan of Avengers? Because I want to circle back to that point that we just were talking about. Is he a fan of Avengers?
He's not even 3 years old. He's just 2.5. He's right now obsessing over all kinds of cars and all kinds of excavators. You have those excavators that dig into. Um, uh, so this is his obsession right now. Um, he seems to like Spider-Man. Uh, he still doesn't know his father is the voice of Thor. So I think that
Yes.
when he grows up a little more, I might just push him to say Thor, 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 Thor.
Then
Where
you'll have to
where
tell him that,
where
you
where
have to watch Avengers.
where the Thor T-shirt and not the Spider-Man T-shirt? Come on, come on. But yeah, no, it's his choice and whatever he likes.
Yeah, talking about the voice behind Thor, it's you. We loved hearing you when we watched Avengers in Hindi. I was like, पहचानी पहचानी सी आवाज लगी. Oh my god, let me just Google it. Oh my god, it's Gaurav Chopra. How was that? How did you react to the opportunity that came to your way that you are going to be the voice
Uh,
of that iconic evergreen character?
uh, when Chris Hemsworth first came on as Thor, I was in my typical long hair while I look at that point of time when the first Thor came,
Yeah.
and a lot of people said, you could look like that if you were in that outfit because I was heavily built during those days and with that long hair. So nobody Thor-like appearance, and a lot of people felt that I could. So I'd heard that, and then a couple of years later, I get an offer from Disney and Marvel saying we would like you to use your voice, and I knew I was told that there were some film actors in the fray for it. Uh, of course, Disney International doesn't really care whether you're a film actor or a TV actor, whatever. They just go with the attitude in your voice and how that fits the character, not even the actor. They want to see if you can sound like Thor and not necessarily Chris Hemsworth. They're not trying to find a voice duplicate for Chris. They're trying to find an Indian voice for Thor. And I liked that approach because then I took it upon myself as if I was to play Thor, people were saying 2 years ago that I could play that character. If I was to actually play him, because I'm not a sound uh, artist, I'm more of an actor. If I was to play this part, how would I play it? So it's kind of funny and embarrassing, but in that sound dubbing studio, I'm doing everything. I'm jumping from sofas. I'm I'm kissing air. I'm doing romantic scenes with imaginary women in that space. Uh, I'm throwing the hammer even though there's nothing in my hands. I'm doing everything. मैं यहाँ से jump up कर रहा होता हूँ, वो the assistants make videos and then blackmail me later saying डाल देंगे Instagram पे, because it must look absolutely crazy. But that's my way of doing it. I play the character in those 5 days of dubbing for the film. I enact it out. So if people feel like there is an aura to the voice, it's because I'm not giving it to somebody's face. I'm actually enacting it out myself. And that's my way of doing it. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. Maybe the other more professional sound artists might be able to guide me, but this is my way of doing it. I enjoy it. Maza aata hai.
Yeah, like I said, people are fan of your voice, and when I saw people in the audience while they were watching Gadar 2, as soon as we heard your dialogue, we were like goosebumps aa gaye, bhai sahab, everybody is gonna like CT maro. Gaurav, coming back to your Big Boss ka journey, as I mentioned Big Boss a while back as well. How did things change after that? And I want to ask you this question: that who was the most unbearable character in Big Boss's house? I think I know the answer, but I still want to hear it from you.
No, Big Boss is that one thing that I wish I could change. I said no some 5 times, and then eventually went for a season that I should not have gone for. This was a season where we were just going to be used. It was an experimental season where they put in commoners for the first time, and I'm going to quickly give you this concept because nobody's honest enough to say this, and I don't really care. The You see, world over, the Big Brother format is with common people, and then they have one-off celebrity seasons. In India, it is the other way around. We have just celebrities coming in Big Boss, which becomes expensive and difficult for the makers, right? I mean, if you would get regular people, you would not be paying them so much. They would not have so many demands, so on and so forth. So that particular year was the year where they were experimenting to bring in the common people. And of course, it needed to be a successful experiment. If it wasn't a successful experiment, how would they follow it up with the common man season, which is what they did? Of course, that didn't really work at all. So they went back to, bringing in celebrities. So that particular season, season 10, I mean, this bunch of people was just going to be used as. And the first night I understood when we went in and they called us celebrities and called them India wale. And I was like, khatam ho gaya game. Because बिना I mean मैं श्रीलंका से थोड़ी आया हूँ. I mean वो इंडिया वाले
Yeah.
हैं तो मैं कौन हूँ? और इंडिया वाले इंडिया वालों के लिए वोट नहीं करेंगे तो किसके लिए करेंगे? और आप मुझे सेलिब्रिटी बुला रहे हो बिकॉज सेलिब्रिटी के साथ वो पूरा डिबॉस्ड अय्याश अमीर बिगड़ा हुआ पूरा एक वाइब आता है. I understood that. I mean, I went to my team and I was like, the game is over. There's no way you can win this. Because it
Hmm.
will just sound wrong. कि इंडिया में इंडिया वालों की वोटिंग से इंडिया वाले हार गए. It was just wrong. It just can't happen. And then I knew on day one that this is going to end the way that it ended. And then you are just going to get used in the process to prove to the world saying, अरे देखो इन celebrities के सामने एक common man जीत गया.
Hmm.
So the whole season was just yeah, you were just being, so it shouldn't have gone for that season. Of course, Swami Om, uh, uh, and God bless his soul, he's not there anymore. But uh, I mean, the kind of things that we saw. He would sit and
Yeah.
talk about gruesome murders that he had committed, and you guys never saw that. He used to keep knives and forks in his under his bed to stab us just in case conflict बढ़ जाए. He would he would do black magic. He would go inside the washroom every night between 11 till 3 or 4 in the morning and be doing his tantra chantings every night. Then there were nights when I would wake up suddenly and he would be sitting next to my bed looking at me. You would find fruits with all kinds of marks under your bed. People were falling sick. People were getting hurt. He would tell things जो हो जाती थी. God knows वो सच बोल रहा था या नहीं बोल रहा था. But it wasn't pleasant. People think of him as funny. It wasn't funny to live with him. What you saw was funny because it was portrayed as funny. What we saw was
Hmm.
dirty. What we saw was gruesome. We didn't understand why he was being brought back again and again. We didn't understand
Hmm.
why every weekend Kawar was just about him and trying to showcase him as a funny man. He wasn't funny. I mean, think about sitting with somebody who talks about detailed conversations about gruesome murders he has committed. How is that fun? Think about sitting with somebody like that who says, मैं बाहर मेरी सेना है, army है, तुम्हारे माँ बाप को ये करवा दूंगा. You don't know whether he's lying or not lying. None of that was ever shown. He was just
Yeah.
portrayed as this crazy, funny Swami person. It wasn't like that. In reality, he was this deranged, negative, evil force. And to be living with that 24 hours wasn't nice. But this is what it is. The season was a sham, according to me. I stayed in about 12 and a half weeks out of 15 weeks. And I came out with a tag saying, you're the most gentleman, most sophisticated person ever in Big Boss. So I think bach gaya because normally, you come out of Big Boss and people are calling you all kinds of things. So I got some 2, 3 adjectives added to my name. So I don't mind. But I wish there was another season because then the audience would be able to see this Gaurav who's telling you this upfront. The audience would be able to see this. In that season, there was no way they would let you see this because it would then just not work in their favor. So unfortunately, that one thing that I feel I could have changed, but otherwise for everything else in my life, I feel like ho gaya, so ho gaya, good. Big Boss, I have that little thing saying I wish I would have gone for another year, another season.
Definitely. But we loved you seeing there in Big Boss as well. I personally was rooting for you. Gaurav, last but not least, can we know about your future plans?
Um, Very interesting. It looks all. Uh, I have some 4 scripts that I'm reading right now, film scripts that I have to respond to. I'm not being able to respond to because while I'm reading them, दूसरी बातें चल रही हैं. Post Rana Naidu on Netflix, of course, there's an influx of offers for the OTT platforms as well. I've just been a little conservative and safe. I wanted to wait till Gadar 2 because ये जो trilogy of variation है ये मेरी, like I told you, ये complete हो रही थी. Now you see all of these crazy things are in my head. I know the audience doesn't even know about all of this, but in my own head I wanted these 3 variations to come. Um, Now we will be saying yes to something interesting after this. The only one thing that we've said yes to is a Punjabi film. I haven't worked in a Punjabi film before, where I play Haji Mastan. Haji Mastan is a legendary character to play. Bachchan Saab has played it before. Ajay Devgan sir has played it as well. um, have played it as well, but for me this is a slightly bigger responsibility because this is the first time that Haji Mastan being played on screen is being called Haji Mastan. uh, on those occasions, there were sort of other personalities that were given. So then there's more liberty to play. Uh, this is a commercial film, but we're playing Haji Mastan as Haji Mastan. And this is what drives me right now. Something interesting, some character that I feel like, wow, ये कैसे करूँगा? मुझे पता नहीं तो चलो let's do it. Um, but these 4 scripts that I'm reading right now seem all very interesting, all 4 of them. So fingers crossed, we'll be making a bunch of announcements very soon.
Fingers crossed. Very excited for you. All the best for all those projects. Gaurav, it was lovely having a chat with you. See you soon. Thank you so much for talking to CNN News 18.
Thank you, Sakshi. It was a pleasure.